we're going to have a look at a number of different tools today to help us draw. The first one I want to look at is this pen tool. And instead of using text straight off, I want to use the pen instead. So we'll use the pen tool. I'm going to work out how this actually works, all right? So that you guys know exactly how to draw accurately with it. If I click and let go, it draws a single point. All right, that point has got sharp edges. All right? If I click and drag, it draws a point with two tangents. And those tangents are controlling the curve. The one that's going backwards away from my black arrow, that's controlling the curve that is just being drawn. And the one that's going forward is going to control the curve that will appear when I do my next click. Okay, so that's how to draw a curve. So I'm just going to draw a straight line here. Now if I want to hold that nice and straight, if I press Shift on the keyboard, you can see it holds it on 45, 90 degrees angles. So I can get that really nice and straight. Let go, so I've got that point in. And then I can click this one. You can see how that curve, even if I hold it straight, that curve from the original, that tangent from the original point there is controlling the curve. I let go of the Shift key and I can curve it a little bit more. So I can control the shape of my letter really nicely. Coming back into a point here, pressing Shift to keep it square, and I can close the shape. Alright, so I've just drawn a shape really nice and accurately using the pen tool. Now if I wanted to, I'd want to put a hole in there. Now I could actually just use a shape for that. That's going to look alright, and I can move that around. If I go to the white selection tool, I can pick up a single spot and drag that in to flatten that off. I can drag it out to make it a bit rounder. So I've got really good control of where I'm putting lines and how the lines are happening. This is not a freehand sketching it out. Right? This is something a little bit more accurate than that I'm using. Now I could start off with a text tool in exactly the same way. So if I type a H, I can have that as my second letter and I can resize that. And as we did last lesson, we used the Create Outlines tool. Can anybody remember where that is? Yes?
Is it on type?
Under type? Yep, under type and Create Outlines. In fact, if I've got it selected, I can actually find it down here as well. Create Outlines. I'm just going to want to change that fill to no fill and change the line to a single black line with 1 point weight. And all the designs that you're going to do in the next couple of weeks should have the same thing. A black line, 1 point weight. That's important for where we're going with it. Okay, so don't work with fill colours. Don't work with fat lines. Work with the thin black line. You're basically drawing a pencil drawing into the sheet. Right, what I want you to do is go and get to grips with those two tools, and then we're going to come back and we'll learn the next kind of few things that can make these shapes a bit more interesting. So you can go over to the edge here and you've got an eraser. You don't ever want to use that. Okay, now if you click and hold it, you'll find scissors and a knife tool. Two do slightly different things. I'll show you the knife tool on the P first. Right. This is quite useful so that I can separate out parts of shapes. You can generate holes or gaps in things. So it's quite a useful tool, but it might not be what you need. What you might be looking for is these scissors, where you can cut if you click at a point and it cuts it off. Now if I press delete, you'll see what's happened. Right, I've managed to delete part of that circle. So those guys who were really struggling with connecting things up or drawing things accurately with a pen tool, you might want to use set shapes that you can pull out areas from. Now the next thing I need to do is I need to start joining this together with the other shape. This line is no good. What I needed there was a rectangle, not a single line. And then when I bring this over, I can start connecting them up. But you can see here, there's no point here. Then there's a line already down here. I want to get rid of that. So the first thing I'm going to do is go back to that scissor tool. I'm going to cut, oh, let's just make sure we've got the right thing selected. I'm going to go back to that scissor tool. I'm going to cut it here. I'm going to cut it at the top here. I'm going to delete that section in the middle, pressing delete. Here's the clever bit. Using the white selection tool, I can select the two dots at the top. I can right click and I can join those dots together. What sort of stuff can we do? Well, using the same sort of tools, let's have a quick look. I've got down here something called the Blob painting tool. And I can just blob shapes in. There it goes. It makes it nice and smooth for me. And if I select that shape, you can see it's got an outline. Alright, and I can change that outline, so I can just get the white, black there. I can change it so it's got an outline. Now, let's add that so that it doesn't look quite so weird. Let's just put it down here at the bottom of this letter. And what I want to do is join together these two shapes so that there's no gap in between. And I can do that really easily using this tool down here, the Shape Builder tool. Now, it used to be you used to use Pathfinder menu to do this sort of stuff, but now I can use this Shape Builder tool and I can start joining them together. What I need to do is make sure that I've got both of the bits that I want to join together, got them all selected first, and then go to the Shape Builder tool. If I drag a line across, I'll join that shape into the other. If I do that again, it joins the shape in. And then I've got my complex outline, which I generated, and I'm combining it together to make a much more interesting shape. Hiding away there, we've got twirl, pucker, float, warp. Now, if you want to get into the options for these, you're going to need to double click. Once you've selected it, double click on it, and you can change the options for whatever you've got selected. For the twirl tool, that's really important. All right? So over here, I can click OK, and I can just pull that. Oh, let's make sure it's selected. Go back to that tool where it's hiding. There it is. And I can pull that round, and I can start to make much more interesting shapes. And if I double click on it and I change the properties, I can twirl it in the other direction. So I can start to get, once I've got control of my shapes, I can start to play around with them, deform them. I can use these tools underneath here. So just recap, we've got the twirl tool hidden underneath the width tool. Okay, we're not going to use the width tool, but these other ones you can use as much as you like. All right.